Okay, good afternoon, grade 11. Welcome to our second session. Our topic for this afternoon is about functions of communication. In this lesson, you are expected to number 1, discuss the functions of communication. Number 2, identify the speaker's purpose. And number 3, express yourselves in writing away your emotion. So, before we start, let's first answer the preliminary activity. So, this is a test on the basic functions and purpose of communications. Write the letter of the correct answer. Okay, number 1, communication allows you to act and react to the behavior of the people around us. A. Emotional expression. B. Control. C. Motivation. D. Social interaction. Number 2, one function of communication is to exercise restraint or direction formally or informally. A. Control. B. Social interaction. C. Motivation. D. Information dissemination. Number 3, it is a function of communication which refers to the energy that influences a person's behavior in different ways to pursuit of his goal or objective. A. Social interaction. B. Motivation. C. Information dissemination. D. Emotional expression. Number 4, one of the most basic functions of communication is to provide data and information for the effective completion of tasks, solution to problems, and elimination of uncertainty. A. Social interaction. B. Information dissemination. C. Emotional expression. D. Control. Number 5, this function of communication facilitates people's expression of their emotions. A. Social interaction. B. Motivation. C. Information dissemination. D. Emotional expression. Number 6, it is the type of talk that refers to the tactful use of power to get result and may be used to motivate people. A. Straight talk. B. Heavy control talk. C. Light control talk. D. Search talk. Number 7, this talk is good for problem solving and conflict resolution and may be used to facilitate emotional expression for catharsis, which is the act of purging, cleansing, and unloading of ideas and emotion. A. Small talk. B. Light control talk. C. Heavy control talk. D. Straight talk. Number 8, it is another non-threatening approach when you want to gather data or the consensus of the others to be able to provide information. A. Small talk. B. Search talk. C. Light control talk. D. Heavy control talk. Number 9, the purpose of the talk is to form a non-threatening communication that may be used to affect social interaction. A. Search talk. B. Heavy control talk. C. Small talk. D. Straight talk. Number 10, this talk is designed to place, blame, and to control or regulate people. This creates defensiveness on the part of the receiver and is rarely, if ever, appropriate. A. Heavy control talk. B. Light control talk. C. Search talk. D. Small talk. Okay, let's proceed to our main topic. So these are the 5 basic functions of communication. The first is control. Control is to exercise restraint or direction formally or informally. This happens particularly among members or acquaintances. Using communication to regulate or control means you use verbal and non-verbal cues to manage an individual or group. This kind of communication is meant to encourage the other person to reciprocate encouraging, or positive feedback from the initial interaction. This kind of communication also controls the behavior of person, and this control will adhere to the rules or cultures or practices of their organization, group, or fellowship. Example of this is an interviewee trying to control herself to meet the expectation set by the interviewer. The interviewee changes her behavior according to how the interviewer manages the conversation. The next is the social interaction. Communication allows acting and reacting to the behavior of people around us. By revealing our thoughts and feelings, we elicit reactions from others. One of the reasons why we communicate is to connect with others or with ourselves. Social interaction and emotional expression are the most used form of communication we use. We use it every day when we hold conversation with our friends or classmates, or when we express how we feel, when we felt offended, or when we feel happy and state our opinion. However, the way we communicate with others will depend on how close we are to them or how much we value them. How you talk to your best friend will be very different with how you talk to someone you just met or to someone with high authority. Number 3. Emotional expression. Communication makes possible the release or unloading of emotions, resulting to catharsis. It facilitates people's expression of their feelings and emotion. Emotional expression is also a form of communication, as with how you talk with someone depending on your relationship with that person. Emotional expression can also be communicated differently depending on how emotionally close you are to the person. Number 4. Motivation. The energy that influences a person's behavior in different ways to his pursuit of his goal or objective. It encourages people to live better. To motivate means to stimulate people to act on their goals. However, the motivational kind of communication can work in two ways: positive or negative motivation. When we say positive motivation, happens when the speaker who is motivating someone or group uses his or her skills in communication as a bridge towards self-assessments, confidence, knowledge, and etc. Negative motivation, on the other hand, can lead either to communication apprehension, social anxiety, shyness, or public speaking anxiety. So we will discuss this one by one in the next slide. Communication anxiety happens when a person becomes fearful of communicating with another person or a group. This fear is either imagined or real and may have rooted from a previous experience. Signs of apprehensions include sweaty palms or feeling upset stomach, also known as butterflies in the stomach. These physical signs motivate someone to avoid communication or feel anxious when forced to communicate. Okay, just like the picture indicated in this slide. Context apprehension happens when the anxiety to communicate happens in certain situations only, such as interpersonal, small group, or public speaking. So you're afraid in even interpersonal, small group, or public speaking. So fear of public speaking is also called stage fright. This is when a person hesitates or avoids speaking in front of a large group or large audience. The next is shyness. This happens when you feel uncomfortable when speaking to a small group or people. Shy people are afraid to initiate communication or actively participate in a small group discussion. The next is the social anxiety, which is when someone hesitates interpersonal communication. This kind of anxiety happens when a person feels threatened and scared of what other people say or think about them. Okay, the next is number 5, information dissemination. It is the most basic function of communication that provides data and information for effective completion of tasks, solution of problems, and eliminating of uncertainty. So information exchange is the core reason why we communicate. Information is needed for an individual to build a harmonious relationship with others and with its environment. Information and communication will always be linked to each other. These are the 5 functions of communication as an effective communicator. You must set your goal as to what you want to achieve before you proceed so that you can utilize your knowledge in verbal and non-verbal cues to your advantage. So the purpose of communication can be effectively realized and fulfilled by using different kinds of talks. By Locke on John Locke, 1998. So number 1 is small talk. Small talk is a form of non-threatening communication that may be used to affect social interaction. So the purpose of small talk is to maintain the status quo. Next is to break the ice. Next is to get acquainted. And the last is to establish a relationship. Number 2, light control talk is a tactful use of power to get result and may be used to motivate people. Okay, the purposes of this is to persuade, to direct, to seek but not force agreement, and use legitimate authority. Number 3, heavy control talk is designed to place blame and to control or regulate people. This creates defensiveness on the part of the receiver and is rarely, if ever, appropriate. So the purpose of this heavy control talk is to blame, to attack, to threaten, to coerce, and to demand. Number 4 is the search talk. Search talk is another non-threatening approach when you want to gather the data or the consensus of the others to be able to provide information. The purpose of this is to center on an issue and to examine and clarify the issue. Number 5 is straight talk. It's a good for problem solving and conflict resolution and may be used to facilitate emotional expression for catharsis, which is the act of purging, cleansing, and unloading of ideas and emotion. So the purpose of straight talk is to concentrate on the here and now. Next is to focus on issues, to share feelings, to acknowledge feelings, and to accept without judging. So now let's proceed to activity number 3, entitled Personal Matter. So cite an example situation where you use the given functions of communication. For example, control. My mother scolded me. Her anger made me keep quiet. So these are the functions of communication. So following the example given in the previous slide, so you will have to put your personal matter here. So the last is the activity 4. This activity entitled Gratefully Yours. So imagine communication as your best friend who has been with you ever since. Write a short message of gratitude to communication for everything it has done to you. Following this format, so example, dear communication, and start it with your letter and end that with forever grateful.